All right, let's shift our focus now to Myanmar. 5 years after the ouster of the democratically elected government, Myanmar is holding elections under the junta rule. The first phase of the election is over, with 2 more to go. But the overall questions on the sanctity of these elections remain. Remember, polling began on Sunday in military-controlled areas, but voter turnout remained on the lower side. The entire process is facing sharp criticism. United Nations has condemned these elections due to violence, arrests, and the ban on Aung San Suu Kyi's political party. According to the UN report, Myanmar's military junta has carried out an unprecedented crackdown on politicians. Around 30,000 political opponents have been arrested since the 2021 military coup. Now, this crackdown intensified in the run-up to the elections. Nearly 200 people are facing charges of obstructing and opposing elections. Meanwhile, Aung San Suu Kyi's son has criticized these elections as well. He's called the elections a scam and accused that only dictators are supporting it. Kemaris also urged the world leaders to shun the junta elections. Lack of trust also persists amongst the locals. Some communities have boycotted the entire process, while some say they are not interested and don't expect much from the elections.
I do not expect anything from the election. It doesn't really cross my mind. They, the junta, are holding elections by themselves. I am not that interested in it.
We have been living under a dictatorship. I don't expect much from these elections. Even if they do hold elections, I don't think anything good will come from them, because they always lie.
Remember, the military is still unable to control vast areas of the territory. Armed struggle is underway across Myanmar. The next 2 phases will take place on the 11th and the 25th of January next year. Out of the 330 townships, 265 will be holding elections. The rest are considered too unstable to hold elections as civil war still continues there. The junta promised a return to democratic governance, but it has chosen to publicly back one political party. Promises contradicting action has created a doubt on a free and transparent election mandate. All right, let's try and understand the elections that are happening currently in Myanmar. I'm joined by Nathan Paul Sudden. He's a well-known columnist. He's joining us live from Glasgow in Scotland. Nathan, good evening. Welcome to WION. I want to start by asking you what you think of these elections in Myanmar. Some are calling it a scam. Some say that, look, this is needed. It might be a quasi-civilian government, but it still is needed to make sure that some sort of electoral process is carried out in the country.
Well, it's who that's needed for, who that's going to benefit. And when we say that it's needed, it is in a sense needed for the Tatmadaw. So the Myanmar military government want to use these elections to show the rest of the world that they have done this bare minimum level of trying to adhere to some kind of democratic norm. With that, then countries like the United States can begin to make arrangements with Myanmar. They can begin to work with them. They can begin to extract rare earth minerals from the country, and trade can begin. And there's already been sanctions lifted against several key figures in the regime this year from the US. So it's not just about the US. It's a signal to the whole world that we're doing just enough to show that we're moving towards democracy, so that maybe sanctions can be lifted and we can begin to do some kind of business in Myanmar. But it means nothing for the people who are going to be stuck in endless conflict, and for the people who are going through endless detention and torture from the regime, and the enormous amount of human rights abuses that the junta will continue to wage on the country.
You know, Nathan, I get your point. I get what you're saying, that this is just, a display of some sort of democratic process being carried out in the garb of, elections. But there are parties like the PDF, People's Defense Forces, who are backed by NLD, which is Aung San Suu Kyi's party. Do you not think that such parties can make a difference? Yes, the large part of control in Myanmar is with the military junta and their backed party, USDP. They've already claimed victory, in fact, after the first phase of elections. But do you not think smaller parties like the PDF can make a difference?
There's opportunities for for different democratic voices to be influential in the country, but there is no space whatsoever allowed by the Tatmadaw to allow for those smaller democratic voices to actually have any form of influence in the state if they are in any way critical of the government. So it's not a situation where it's just the NLD are banned. There's another 40 parties that have been banned at the same time. And this goes kind of across the board around Southeast Asia right now, where there's a growing totalitarianism, there's a growing destruction of democracy, and the way that they are doing that, whether it's Cambodia or whether it's Thailand, they are taking some political parties, banning them, but then allowing others to remain that are less critical. So the dictatorship theme remains in place, but there's just enough in place to say that this is still democracy, because some of the smaller parties are technically still able to be there and could potentially have voice when they, in fact, never will be able to actually say anything in opposition to the Tatmadaw.
So Nathan, when you say that there are countries who are looking at business and trying to extract minerals and resources from Myanmar, there is the West, the US, which is calling it as sham elections. There's a country like China, which is backing these elections clearly to protect its own strategic interests. India, of course, has said that we do want a stable Myanmar. It is in our interest, but we've also got a concern of cross-border infiltration happening. Where do you think, in which country do you think would benefit the most from this kind of a process taking place?
So like you said, I mean, China and Russia already have their relationships in Myanmar. India as well, to a different extent, have those existing arrangements in the country. I think the countries that would really benefit from this sham democratic process taking place would be someone like the United States. Trump has made it quite clear that he's very, very interested in the rare earth minerals in Myanmar. Myanmar is the third biggest producer of rare earth minerals on the planet. Most of those minerals are in Kachin state, and this would mean that Trump would either have to make arrangements with the KIA, the rebel group operating there, or with the Tatmadaw. And if they do some kind of election, it means that the sanctions can begin to be released over time. They can find more excuses to say that they're making amends towards democracy, and then with that allows someone like Trump to start negotiating directly with the Myanmar military regime rather than having to negotiate with rebel groups, which would allow them to then use things like tariffs and sanctions as leverage so they can get good deals on the minerals inside the country.
Okay. All right. Let's wait and watch how the next two phases go. And of course, what really happens post these elections, whether there is some sort of stability, if not a democratically elected civilian government in the country. We'll leave it there. Nathan, thank you very much for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective.